First of all, I'd just like to say good morning and thank you for joining us for this web chat with Rotherham and the DFE. I'd like to welcome Rotherham Parent Carer Forum. We've got Jane, we've got Kay, and we've got Gemma. We've also got Patrick Aegis and Monica Alderlamy from the DFE, and myself, Carolyn Devaney, the Head of Parent Carer Participation at Contact. Hopefully, if nothing else, it will give you some useful information about what you can do this year, answer some questions about the grant, and hopefully inspire you and give you the confidence to put in the right grant applications for your forum this year. We're going to listen to Rotherham talk about what they've been doing. After we've done that, Patrick and Monica will speak from the DFE's perspective. So we're currently thinking about how we can do this again. They say this is a first. We're Contact are adapting as forums are to the changing needs, and we're trying to offer different things at the moment. And thinking of ways that we can engage more people. So we might run more of these, or we might do webinars, but there will be follow-up webinars too, and we might be able to do podcasts and things like that. So I guess the first thing to say really is why we decided to do this, and that's because we're in a situation that none of us have been in before, and hopefully we won't ever be in it again. Life has become increasingly difficult, and we appreciate that parent carers, on top of everything, of all the other challenges at home currently, running a forum is an added stress and strain. And Contact have been sending out messages of encouragement and reassurance around the grant, and asking forums to be creative and think differently about what you might be able to do, maybe to think about digital infrastructure and things like that. And we understand that strategic work might not be a priority this year. It might just be that linking and maintaining your membership and trying to reduce isolation in your area is all you might be able to achieve this year, and that is absolutely fine. We understand, and the DFE understand. But I think after we ran the grants webinar, I think and from the questions that were asked on that, it did become apparent that quite a few forums are maybe a bit confused, or they're not quite sure what they can do, or how they might do it, or whether the grant can be used to fund what they want to do. So I think some forums have been putting in applications that are very similar to usual, that have got lots of physical and face-to-face events, but perhaps nothing for digital infrastructure, and thinking of the current time with all the virtual meetings that are going on, and that's fine too. I think some forums have adapted very quickly, others, you know, they're just sort of struggling to continue at the moment. So we just wanted to offer forums a chance to hear from a forum who have managed to adapt really quickly. They've managed to put together a programme of online virtual meetings and drop-ins, just so that it might help to inspire people and to think about actually what can be done and the opportunities that might be out there, despite all the sort of the added challenges. So just want to hand you over really to Jane, Kay and Gemma from Rotherham to talk about what they've done so far during the pandemic. So what they've been doing that's different, you know, how they're finding it, and whether there've been sort of any sort of outcomes or opportunities that they didn't expect.
So hello everybody. In terms of this strange times, and whatever we can bring today to share that, and what we've learned over the last 6 weeks, we're willing to share with everyone else. But it's worth saying that I think we all know in forum land that we're used to bringing it, and we're used to having to adapt very quickly to lots of different stuff that's going on around us. And I think this could probably go down in history as the strangest time for most people, our families. So our first thoughts came from our own feelings, really. Suddenly we were isolated with our children, but feeling the isolation and coming from our own feelings, our first thought was, as always with forums, how do we reduce that isolation? And it comes from lived experience, because that's what we do as forums. It comes from that lived experience. So in terms of that, what we did was react. We reacted quickly to what we were hearing, because the phone line was still open. So his first thought were, how can we be accessible? How can people get through to us and say what's going on? But it really wasn't about any strategy. It was about whether people had enough food, whether they were getting the medication and the therapies. It was that basic stuff. And so the first thing we did was make sure that the phone line was with one of our admin people and the volunteers there. So I'm just going to pass on to Gemma now, because Gemma and Kay are really responsible for creating this digital offer that we've got that's led to some amazing stuff.
So quite quickly, one of the first things that we did was we set up a digital Facebook page. So we'd already got a Facebook discussion page, which was private. And we told people that we were going to start interacting more if anybody was interested on a digital page, and put an offer out there for people to join it. Then we looked at what parents and carers needed and wanted, and how we could best reduce isolation. And we looked at what we currently offered and how we could continue that, and what our team could offer, bearing in mind we're all at home with our own young people and children with SEND. So the first thing that we thought we'd have a bash at was, we used to do a weekly drop-in session where families could come for a coffee and a chat. So we said, let's have a go at doing that over Zoom. And lots of people were scared of the technology, and lots of people didn't want to see themselves, and it was a really big learning curve. We tested it first on team members, and then we tested it on a few parents and carers that we knew well. And now we're doing it every day, Monday to Friday, 10 AM till 11:30. We have a Zoom link on our web page and on our Facebook pages, and parents can just join us and have a chat, bring your coffee with you, talk about what the issues are at the moment. We can collect voice there, and we can reduce isolation and make people feel better. And then we realised that not everybody would be able to join during the day, because people are still working, children still need homeschooling. So we looked at evening chats. And one thing that I was really keen on was that people didn't have to be camera ready in the evening. You don't want to be on Zoom in your jammies. So we looked at how could we do a chat virtually without seeing yourselves. So I did a lot of Googling, a lot of looking around, and looked at chat forums, but actually we already had a Facebook presence that was in a private group where we could access people. So we tried online Facebook chat, and we set it up as an event at first. And the first event went really well, and it was going really well for the first half hour. And then people all of a sudden started to leave, and I was starting to panic. And then I realised that single-handedly I was responsible for getting lots of people an evening ban off Facebook for posting too much. So back to the drawing board, back to Google, back to looking at what the Facebook police were doing, and realised that they now Facebook like something called watch parties, and they let as many people as you want come to watch parties and comment on watch parties, but you have to be watching something. So I started thinking, well, what could we watch? And that triggered, oh, we could have Zen videos and relaxing videos, relaxing music playing while we all have a chat. And that's how we've come to our every night, 7:30 till 8:30. We do it all 7 days a week. That's how we've come to that, and people are really liking that option of just once perhaps they've got the kids to bed, or not got the kids to bed. In lots of SEND families, the kids are still up, but they can actually have that chat, talk about the day, connect with families that they used to meet at drop-ins, that they used to see out and about. And then the third thing that we started looking at was, two of our counsellors said that they'd be happy to offer wellbeing phone calls. So not traditional counselling as we offer as a forum anyway, but one-off 30-minute sessions that people could book on for, just to talk about their anxieties around the pandemic and the current situation, just to offload. So it was very clear that it was a 30-minute one-off session. If you needed more counselling, then you needed to access the other service. But it was a straight out there, what can we do right now to help people get through this? And then over to Kay.
Hiya. I'm Activities Coordinator at Rotherham Parent Carers Forum. And obviously I just want to let you know what we did from the activities side. So before this pandemic started, I was responsible for activities for families during the evening and in school holidays. So I wanted to carry that on because I know a lot of the children that we see, young people and parents, they like obviously the routine, and as well something for the children to do. So same as Gemma, we thought, what could we do? How can we reach these people just like we did normally? And I came up with the idea of doing activities on an evening via Facebook Live. And the reason why we had to do a Facebook Live is they can see me, but I can't see them because of safeguarding, which is kind of like a little show, and we do loads and loads of different activities. So we do dance parties, which is like action dance, where obviously, you know, things like YMCA, the Superman song, nursery rhymes. We had a magician come on who was one of our volunteers. He did some magic lessons online, and we have mindfulness on Mondays, which is really fantastic for families. It takes you off on a journey up a mountain or to a beach, where it's really relaxing for the whole family to join in. We also do family quizzes. We recently did Play Cards Right, which was very, very popular. The families absolutely loved that. And last night we did, the first one was duck racing, which another volunteer did for us, which was absolutely, it was brilliant. But the Facebook page that we created for this pandemic is it's private, same as the others, so it's really safe for the, you know, for children and for parents to just share what they're doing during this pandemic. So that it's things like baking, pictures on the daily walk that we do, and it's just a community where they can just share things with us and with other people, and it just helps that thing. Oh, and to mention as well, on a Friday, which will be today, I get dressed up in a lion costume and do incredible dance routine. I will try and send you videos, but it's fabulous. Yes, I do dance around Lionel the lion. He's fabulous, yeah. So I'll pass it over to Jane again, because she's got some more to deliver.
Okay, and I think that's been what's brought people onto the page as well. And some of our young people have been sharing what they do, and that's why it has to be. So from that, we've decided to move on to YouTube and maybe make what we can with permissions make public, we can make public on our YouTube channel. But what that's led to, although we weren't looking for voice, we certainly were not looking for voice in any way. We were hearing it, and what we heard within the first 2 weeks very clearly was that there was a very different offer from our schools in Rotherham, that we were hearing loads of good practice, some phenomenal practice actually, of what families were getting, but other families were getting nothing. We were hearing differentiation, and we were hearing basically a web page that people couldn't access. We've even heard in one instance, although it's been rectified now, that people were being, like, young people were kind of being penalised for not completing their homework. So that led us then to a consultation, and it was because in that then we proactively engaged with our local authority and CCG, and what we said to them was, we need this two-way. So we're meeting regularly with them anyway. We have a good relationship with them, thankfully, before the pandemic. So we're able just to think, right, how we're going to adapt that. So we told them that this is what we're hearing, and that we need to work towards a basic offer across Rotherham. In 1 week in the holidays, the Easter holidays, we got 89 responses from special schools, mainstream, from nurseries, from colleges, right across the board. And we've sent all that in. That's now been made a report, and I can share that report if anyone wants to look at how we did that. It was very, very, very easy to do in terms of forms, because Gemma's queen of Microsoft Form and can sort us all with that. But it was really quite simple to do, and families found it easy to fill in. That is now with the local authority, and that's led then to families in the chats and through MailChimp and the other ways we communicate with them, asking about therapy. We've discovered some families were struggling to get prescriptions when it were a controlled drug across the border, because GPs can't prescribe those. Lots of different issues like that CCG and local authority are wanting to work with and deal with. And now we're looking at transitions back into school and working with colleagues around what that will look like. One of our young people has already created a presentation that she did anyway, called Your Lockdown, My Freedom. And what she said is she doesn't want to go back to, after this, to lose all that freedom, because she's found it quite freeing. Because I don't know about you, but we've seen a very mixed bag of some young people really struggling with this and some young people not. Some young people actually thriving because they know that, you know, that all the pressures and anxieties are off. So it's unpicking that and thinking, how do we move forward? But in terms of the grant agreements and things being different, it's basically looking at what your gift is and where, you know, what is it. All of us can do something, but this might just be about how you as a steering group think, how do we do this for the next 12 months? And knowing that today, for me, today is about the DFE and contacts and forums being in agreement to say, yeah, our aim is to reduce isolation, and this is how we're going to do it. So voice comes through anyway, we know that, regardless of what we do, you know, but we need to engage families before we can gather that voice and have an impact on what's happening. Gemma?
So once we'd set up what we'd set up, and we realised that it was working quite well, we looked at how we could improve it and reach more families. And one of the things that used to happen at our drop-ins was practitioners used to be invited from CAMS, SENDIAS, EPS service. So we thought, well, can we do that at a virtual drop-in? So I jumped on Google, and yes, believe it or not, you can. There are something called breakout rooms within Zoom that create private virtual spaces. So we practiced with the EPSs the other day, and one of them sat in a breakout room, and we sent some of our team across to them, and they had private chats, and then they popped back, and we only lost one team member inside the space briefly, and then we managed to get her back again. So that's looking at, we're rolling that out next week with practitioners coming to drop-ins where it works with them. The other thing that we looked at was, would it work for training? Could we do small discussion-based workshops? And actually found out, yes, you can. On Zoom, you can also bring up your desktop, so you can bring up a PowerPoint and still have all the people there as well, so you can have an interactive discussion. It would have to be quite a small number of parent carers, but you could do that, and it could be very solution focused. So we're looking at rolling that out next. And our siblings coordinator, who runs sibling groups, she's just started last week for the older siblings an online sibling support group, so that they can talk about how they're affected by being at home all the time with some quite challenging siblings sometimes. And then the other thing that we're looking at now is, how can we make this accessible to everybody? So we're creating how-to guides for families. So how do you get onto Zoom? How do you access these things? And then we're looking at ways that we can promote it and get out there to more families, and make sure that everybody has some access to what we're offering. Okay?
Yeah. So, like I said before, we've learned a lot of lessons from giving this virtual offer, and one of the main ones we've found is we're reaching families that wouldn't normally have accessed any of our services, and through different means of, obviously, maybe having social anxiety, maybe having a child that is out of education. So going forward, after this pandemic will be over, surely, we're going to keep some of it. So perhaps not doing it every day as we are doing now, but we will keep it in our offer. And another thing that's led is we've realised that even though parents can see us over the screen, we're looking at doing some activity packs and information packs to drop off to families as well. So you can drop it off, put it on the doorstep, and probably stand, you know, where social distancing, 2 meters, just give them a wave, are you all right, can I get you anything, sort of thing. And obviously, like Gemma said, because these videos that we've been doing are very, very popular, a lot of the children like to watch them over and over again. But what you do find with Facebook, they kind of vanish after a certain length of time. So that's moving forward to the YouTube platform. So children who like to watch these videos, they can over and over again. Yeah, and that's it from me. I pass it on to Jane again, sorry.
Just to finish off, just to say, you know, one size doesn't fit all, we know that. But just like within our forums, what each brings is enough. What each forum brings is enough as well. And what we wanted to say today was basically whatever you hear, if anything, it's take what you like and leave the rest. You know, if anything we've got at all, we've got how-to guides. We've done lots of research into safeguarding. Zoom has been one of those platforms that's been up and then down, and local authorities can and then they can't, and we've had a lot of that going on. But the recent stuff this week, actually the BACP, which is the counselling professional body, said it's the safest one. No online digital platform is encrypted end to end and completely secure. So we've written lots of policies and procedures around that and consent from families on how that can work. All of them available to anybody who wants to. You know, basically we've had 6 weeks at it and we've hit lots and lots of hurdles and stuff. The other thing as well to remember, I suppose, is that what we don't want anybody to think is, well, that's Rotherham. I remember really clearly in 2009, Katie Clark, who is still my hero and friend, coming to Rotherham, and I sat thinking we could never do what they do in Calderdale. We could never do it, and we haven't, but we've done it differently in Rotherham. So it's about you being you where you're at, with your families, your forum, no matter how young or old it is. And we're one forum, one family, we're one forum family. So whatever we have that we can share in terms of that, for us to keep going this year and reach families and look for opportunities that are in it as well, because there are. We've been surprised by a lot of that. Our young people have got a bigger voice because they're doing it on their terms, in terms of sending videos in and things. So it's been a real, although it's cursed, this has been quite a blessing as well this time, I think. But it's remembering as well to look after yourself, because as forums, I think we have got whether we volunteer or we pay.
Well, thank you very much, Jane, Gemma and Kay. So I'd like to hand over to Patrick and Monica to say a few things about the DFE's perspective. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Shall I start, Monica? I'm Patrick Aegis from the DFE. I'm the one with the beard. Do you want to introduce yourself, Monica?
Hi, I'm Monica Aldelamy, don't have a beard, and I manage the strategic participation contract that incorporates the PCF grant.
Okay, I just wanted to say a few things because I'm not here today as the government person who can give you everything that you need to know about all the different bits of advice. I haven't written most of it. I haven't even read a lot of it. I just want to focus today on things around parent care forums and grants and the process around all of this stuff. I think the first thing to say, as if it needed saying, is that everybody's pretty much in the same boat at the moment. A lot of the work that I do, a lot of the work that you do, has traditionally tended to be face-to-face and all that kind of stuff, and we're having to move away from that. Of course, it's not so much having to move away from it. We were told very quickly to not do it, and so we're all having to adapt. And I think particularly for the parent care forum community, not only are you parents, but the people that you work with are parents, and that presents an additional set of challenges that perhaps in my day-to-day work I don't quite have. So the first point I wanted to make really is to say that given where we are and how we're all having to adapt, the grant that we've got for you that we want to give to you and we want you to apply for, and a lot of you are applying for it, we want to give you as much flexibility as you need to operate your forum in the way that you think best. And that's the basic principle that underpins everything. I don't propose to, micromanage individual forums and look at particular claims from people. I want you largely to be using your own judgments and to be learning from each other about what works best. I mean, today is a brilliant case in point, isn't it? This sort of session is really good at sharing ideas and all the rest of it. And as long as you do this kind of thing a lot, I'm sure you're going to get an awful lot more from each other than you can ever get from me. You might find this hard to believe. I've never led a parent carer forum. I wouldn't know where to start. And my default position on all of these things is yes, unless you want me to give you the answer no. So as I say, my basic position is flexibility. Spend money on what you need to spend money on in order to be the best forum you can be in the current circumstances. Learn from each other, absolutely, which is what you're doing. I'm not going to sit in judgment about these things. I'm certainly not going to micromanage the grant. I never have done. Micromanagement and me go together like garlic and vampires. It really isn't the way to do things, essentially, from DFE. And I think in terms of the process, it's the same process it's always been. You know, make the judgments yourself. You're best placed to know what it is that works in your local area. If you're not sure about whether this is the right sort of thing that is meeting grant conditions or whatever, then talk to contact and have a conversation with them and see what they advise. And if people are in any doubt, then ultimately you can come back to me. And as anybody who's ever worked with me, and Carolyn can contest to this, I will say yes, pretty much to anything. So I think, you know, as long as you're using your judgment properly, as long as you're learning from each other, and as long as you're talking to each other, then do what you need to do to get through this, basically. And I just say one other thing, if I may, which is about, well, two other things. First of all, turning up to virtual meetings in your pajamas is not a bad thing. I do it a lot, and you can see me from the waist up, and I'll leave the rest to your imagination. The second thing is, as somebody who's worked at home pretty much exclusively for the last 2 years, I know you think civil servants just turn up in their seats and sit in their little glass boxes and stuff. A lot of them do. I don't. I've worked like this for a very, very long time. And I think the thing that is really interesting is that, you know, the transition from how you were doing things to how you're now doing things is the scary bit. Once you get past that bit, actually, you get used to doing things the way that you're currently doing things. And there's so much great opportunity that comes through all of this stuff. And some of the really wonderful things that I've been hearing about how more people are engaging through social media than might have done physically, because it's just a lot easier sometimes. You know, there are some really positive things here, but that doesn't mean that I'm a sort of a massive, complete evangelist for this stuff, because I completely accept also, and I've heard this in other quarters as well, about some of the informality can get lost when you're not kind of sidling up to people in a group and having your sort of off the, you know, everything's for everyone when you're in this sort of environment, even with the sort of dictatorial control that Carolyn can, you know, command over something like this by shutting people up and turning people's cameras off if you really wanted to. So I appreciate that there are checks and balances, but I think that now that we're all starting to get used to this, I think there's a lot of really positive stuff that I think people can do, and from my perspective, I want to do as much to facilitate that, to allow that to happen, and not to be the person that blocks it. And I don't want people not to feel confident in doing things. I don't want people to worry about, oh, is this something that I can spend my money? I think you need to kind of make lots of judgments, and I think you need to check in with contact if you're worried. So I just I've repeated that several times now. So I think it's time for me to shut up.
Monica, would you like to add anything?
I can only second what Patrick said, in that yes, the funding is there, yes, things are different, and that yes, we do know that you are the experts to know best about what you need and how best to use that funding, and we do expect you to try and continue as best as you can to keep in touch with each other, and, you know, use that funding and how it works best. So yeah, that's what I want to say, really.
Okay, we only had one other question, and that when we're out of lockdown, will it be okay to have sort of fun events or social events? And I think the answer is yes, because I think you probably need to re-engage with families again and promote the forum and maintain or get new members. So as long as there's an element of participation in there, as Jane was saying earlier, that just by being there you gather views. So yes, that is absolutely fine. So Sorry, Kay.
Can I just obviously say about fun events and things is just something to bear in mind that I've been looking at is in obviously because there's still going to be measures in place is just have a look at those measures and what you think if you're doing fun activities, how are you going to facilitate that? So obviously what measures will you have in place to keep everybody safe? That's the only thing. I've already started looking at this of ways that you can. So there's things like the infrared thermometers that you could check with families as they arrive. Are they sick? Just general things like that. It's just something so you're prepared in some ways.
Oh, thank you. We are going to have to wrap up now. Hope that you found it useful. We are looking to offer either similar chats like this, webinars, podcasts, really whatever forums need at this moment, to get them through. And we're adapting as you are. So please do feed in anything that you think would help your forum at the moment, and Contact will try and accommodate that. If you have any suggestions, if you could send them to the parent.participation email address at Contact, that would be really helpful. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Rotherham, Jane, Kay and Gemma, to Patrick and Monica. So I just hope that you feel reassured and inspired and that you're confident to all put your grant applications in and do what you need to do this year. And just remember, if you're in any doubt at all or you need any support, please ask your advisor or a member of the grants team. So take care everybody, stay safe, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.